Now this might be the most anti-clickbait YouTube intro, but I really don't know what we're gonna do today. I just finished up the last episode where I put in new speakers and a new radio. And I mean, there is enough stuff to do, but really it's kind of all over the place. I've got some framing pieces that are ready to be glued in. Then with this wall all paneled up and the electrics that recently arrived, I have tons of stuff we can hook up. Then I gotta carpet some bits in the van and also continue working on the shelf. So I think there are some quite busy days ahead of us with tons of different projects, so why don't we just get started? Now, how nice would it be if the brackets just fit everywhere? Obviously, there had to be one spot where they are too long. Just got another package with lots of new stuff. But first for today is gonna be this solar Trickle charger. Now the problem is, the only time I'm using my van is to drive it 5 meters so I can work on it a bit better, but I never take it out for long rides since it's not finished. So the battery always struggles with keeping the charge. And I don't really fancy plugging it in all the time, so I got this Trickle charger, which should deliver up to 20 watts, and I can wire it straight to the battery and then mount the solar panel to the windows, and that should keep it alive pretty much indefinitely. There is a little built-in charging thingy, so once we hold it into the sun, it already starts blinking and shows that there's power. Now let me show you what we're gonna do with this. Also, it sure is getting colder, but the weather's so nice and all the leaves are turning super colorful. So yeah, got a pretty nice day today to work on the van. So my plan is to mount the solar panel over here or on the front window, and then usually you'd plug it into the cigarette lighter over here, but this one is only connected to the battery once the ignition switch is turned on. But that's no use because then obviously the engine would power the battery. So my plan is, from the last episode of the radio install, there is a straight connector to the battery which is powered on all the time. So I'm gonna splice the wire and then run another cigarette lighter port into here, and then I can easily connect the solar panel, which is gonna go on one of those two windows. And for that I have some leftover cigarette lighter plugs from the USB sockets, which will work perfect. So let's see if this will be any good. Sure isn't my proudest day today. First I drilled the hole over there, but there's a metal bar behind and I didn't check, and now I've got a little threaded knot in between the plug and the wall, so yeah, that's not gonna work. One thing though, while we're at it, I ordered this little FM adapter for the radio, so we can finally hook that up. And somewhere in here should be the cable, but obviously I pushed it. Oh, it's actually not too bad. It's right here. All right, there we go. Got the ring behind the pedal and redid these connections, and now they're looking much better. So the radio is back in, and I added a little grommet to seal up the hole. So now it's time to mount it and see if it will actually charge the battery. Now the blue and red LEDs are already a good sign. That means charging in progress. But let's double check with the multimeter and see what it's gonna read. So the battery is showing 12.57 volts without the charger, and that's not too bad, but I did charge it up. So now it is plugged in. Now look at that. And with no loads connected, this should theoretically be the current we're charging at right now. And that means with just a bit of shade and quite a weak winter sun, we are getting around 10 watts of the 20 that the panel can do at max. So that's pretty cool. It only costs around 35 bucks, and it sure is gonna come in quite handy on the parking lot here, but also when we're traveling. Also, one more thing, if you're worried about me not putting in a fuse, it is wired through the fuse box for the radio, so it has a 10 amp fuse, and the wire I chose should handle up to like 20 amps. Now to continue the frame all the way to the back, I need to first finish this blank piece of metal up, which means putting on insulation, taping everything up, and then using the spray adhesive to put carpet on. Got everything insulated and taped up, so now it's time for the carpet. Oh, I gotta say, I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. I couldn't have imagined it going this well. And once the sheet of plywood is over the top here, then it's gonna look super clean. Now, of course, there had to be a little issue along the way. I completely forgot that we need to mount this. Now, I think my little mistake might actually be a good thing, because it's gonna look super clean this way. Also, the panel is completely out of the sun now, but it did have about 5 or 6 hours of sunlight, and it shows around 12.8 volts, so it really is working. Next little task is gonna be putting in this big bolt somewhere over here in the engine bay, so I can hook up the negative pole to the chassis of the car. There is already a connection somewhere, but I can't make out where, and I'm not sure if it's big enough, because I will have the alternator charger with around 50 amps running through that. So I want to double it up and use this short run, and I already checked the resistance between those 2 points is super small, so that should work like a charm. I made my way out of the cold winds, but it's still freezing in here. Tomorrow I'm definitely gonna bring my little space heater. So the wheelhouses are insulated. Now I decided to carpet this one. Still not sure about the one over here, because I think I might just do all wood paneling. And also I put on a second coat on the little grounding bolt. So that should be done. And the little trunk holder still has some room. But yeah, that wasn't planned too well. Now it definitely didn't turn out as nice as the edge over here, but it should still work. And then on top, where the carpet turned to be a bit short, there's gonna be a little hidden secret shelving spot, whatever you want to call it anyways. So that's not going to be visible. I just got the big sheet of plywood out of the wood shop, and the plan is to make a little end piece over here, of course with the angles again. And since the sheet of plywood is big enough, I'm planning on keeping the wood grain as a continuous pattern so that it will kind of look like a waterfall coming down here, if you know what I mean. Also, it's just so beautiful with the sun out. It's finally warming up a bit. Let's see if it fits. I think that's pretty good. Now I've got to do the same thing with these two pieces for up here. It fits quite well over here, but then obviously I messed up again. When I used this little transfer thingy, I should have only kept the horizontal distance because it already fit vertically, but I just trace it around everything. It's barely visible, but once it's oiled, then the colors should show that it lines up with this kind of waterfall thing we were going for. Well, never mind. I think I just found a way to turn this mistake into a little feature and along the way make the carpeting look a bit nicer, because you see over there I carpeted after the plywood install and it leaves kind of a little shadow gap. So if I continue making this thing larger, then I can insulate it, carpet it, and that should hold it in place really nicely. So I'm gonna go for that. This time around it worked so much better with the carpet, and I think the little mistake should turn out looking quite nice. I taped everything up down here and the panels should have dried enough so we can start gluing them in. Now for that I think we should pull into the garage and throw on the little heater, because it's only 8 degrees and it's just a tad too cold for Sikaflex to dry properly. It'd be a shame if it didn't hold up. It looks to be a super nice day today. The little panel could dry up nice in the warm garage. But we're gonna start off today with the little grounding pole we made over here. And for that I ordered some stuff. So far it was enough to use little crimping pliers, but with those big connectors we need a hydraulic crimping tool. So the manual says it has 80 kilonewtons, which would mean 8 tons of pressure. So that should be plenty enough to get the ring locks on the 16mm cable. Cable is in, and the reason I went with a longer one is so that it could go all around the fuse box and I can still open it. And if I unclip this clamp, I still need some slack so I can have it hanging around. Now beside the beautiful morning sun and the car charging up rapidly, it's time to tackle this side. We're not gonna get it finished today because in the end, when the sheet of plywood is on, I will have another go at it with sanding and painting. But for now, I gotta seal up the edge all around here and then get the plugs cut off. Looks like we're done for now with this little wall, and I just got 2 packages. And the reason why you put in the negative wire from the car battery to the chassis is the DC to DC charger. And I'm super excited to install this. It's gonna have 700 watts of output power. So it'll charge up the big battery when we're on the road. But I just checked and we're already over 20 hours of video footage. So I think I'm gonna wrap up this episode. As always, thanks a ton for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.